just because it's certainly not my favorite thing to do. You have to ask Nick about some of my putting episodes.
Nice.
Why worry about putting when you can hit it as far as you do, Brad?
So I just try to knock it on the green. That gives me 3 more chances, and I'm in good shape after that. One putting's overrated.
I love that idea. I would love to. I mean, I'm pretty good at 3 putting as well. So if I could hit par 4s, that would be great.
You just talk to me whenever you've chunked a putt in your backstroke. True story.
Well, I mean, the good news is that leads us right into our topic for today: driving par 4s. That's why we have Jeff on, to help us hit more par 4s with our drives, right, Jeff?
Yeah, for sure. Not that I do it all that often, but Brad, I know does it all the time. But we can help people do it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I just had to develop that skill out of survival.
Love it. Well, welcome today, everybody. We have some new faces on the live. We have Brad and Jeff. Let's just go around real quick. Brad, quick 30 seconds, kind of who you are, what you do, kind of thing.
Yeah, so director
chunking putts in the backswing.
So I am the resident putt chunker, but director of teaching quality of golf tech, just help train our new coaches and try to moonlight on the world long drive circuit as well too. So been doing that for probably a little over a decade now.
What is your longest drive during a competition?
My longest 445 yards. That's been my longest.
Cool.
Won that set, fortunately.
I mean, I'm almost there in 2, so that's perfect. Could get there maybe with a driver and maybe a 7-iron. So that's great. That's good. Jeff. Yeah, let's actually figure that out. Jeff, let's have a little competition here. What club would you have to hit like a good drive and what iron to get to Brad's drive here? Let's see. So if I had a 280-yard drive, which would be,
yeah, that's me hitting smashing a ball pretty good.
Okay, so we've got, let's see, 445 minus 280, 165 left. So I'm like driver 8-iron. I'm getting to you, Brad. That'd be what it'd take.
I'd probably be a 7-iron after that. I'm thinking. Yeah.
I'm guaranteed at least 2 putts, if not 3 after that. So I feel like we're going to walk away with a pretty similar number. So don't worry.
There we go.
Way of getting to the same place.
Perfect. And Jeff, 18 strong. What do you do? What's the quick background bio on you?
Yeah, Jeff Palizzaro. My background is physical therapy and golf fitness professional. Started 18 Strong, which is kind of an online platform and podcast where I interview a bunch of different people in the world of golf, fitness, and whatever, just kind of trying to get a different take on, what makes some of these either coaches, experts in their field, or we've had some PGA Tour players on, just, really trying to expose, what makes guys stronger at the game of golf, stronger in life, and, how do you start the first tee and end up the 18th hole just as strong as you started. So, it's all about fitness, living a healthier lifestyle, enjoying golf as much as you possibly can, and playing the game as long as you possibly can.
Love it. You're one of the OG podcasters from back in the day, that's for sure.
Right back at you, brother.
It's been it's been a while. Well, awesome. So today we're just going to talk a little bit about getting stronger, some of the misconceptions, what to do, what not to do. At the end, we'll go through a little daily ritual, and it's just something that people can do on a regular basis. I'm excited about that. But let's just start right in, Jeff, is kind of, what are the biggest misconceptions that most people have right now that you run up against in your field?
I'd say there's probably 2 really, really big ones. They're almost, one of them is that your golf fitness workouts need to look like a golf swing. So I see a lot of people mimicking swinging a club, doing some sort of band rotations, doing a lot of cable rotations, and not really putting a lot of emphasis on, other fundamental movements that I think you would see in most other sports when people are training for sport. Things like, squats and lunges and deadlifts and pushing and pulling exercises. And so I think that a lot of people get kind of enamored with the idea of golf fitness and making it kind of sexy looking by doing some of these different exercises that look like they're swinging a golf club. And I think Instagram has kind of blown that out of proportion in some ways, where people are trying to get as creative as possible. But I think Brad will speak to this as well. The fact that just getting back to the basics and doing some of the more traditional strength stuff is going to prepare you just as well, if not way more, than doing some of these smaller resistance exercises that look like a golf swing. The other thing would be kind of in correlation to that is that I think a lot of golfers are afraid to lift weights. And they think that, getting bulky or strong is going to limit your flexibility or is going to limit your ability to actually perform on the golf course. But when done right, when done properly, you can create somebody like a Brad here, who is definitely, he's got mass to him, he's got strength to him, but I mean, the guy can crush a ball. We've all seen him swing a golf club on the Golf Channel. And I mean, he moves very well. So when you do it right, I mean, you have all the pieces.
I'm glad to hear that first point you brought up there as well too, Jeff. I think it's really easy if I'm walking through the gym. I'll definitely always see at least one, if not two people trying to swing a dumbbell like a golf club, or using some sort of cable crossover, moving that like a golf club. They're really easy to spot. And I can understand why people have that misconception. And I'm sure there's probably a time or a place for something like that. But to your point, I think so many, just the 99% of golfers out there, they're missing that just foundational strength that you're going to get from your heavy squats, heavy deadlift variations, your pushing, pulling. Just doing those movements is going to be so much more beneficial to get that foundational strength. And you could probably speak to this one, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that's almost really all they need to do. They never even really progress past that, because that's enough given the time they have to put into it, and just really the time they're maybe even willing to put into it. I'd be curious a little bit on your front as far as like what percentage of golfers or percentage or even your clients do you do, or what percentage maybe of their workouts looks more like anything rotational versus those foundational squatting, hip hinging ones that you kind of mentioned there?
Yeah, it's almost like to answer your question, a very small percentage. We focus on the big things at first. Again, people are busy these days. People have so much going on, and it's not like we're working with tour players in the gym all the time, right? So these people have a very finite amount of time for them to get the most bang for their buck out of that time spent, whether that be in the gym or having them do something at home or on their own. So, we want to make sure that you're doing the things that are going to give them the most benefit. So giving them the most flexibility and range of motion and strength with minimal exercise. So the bulk of our workouts, I mean, I think if you were to be a fly on the wall watching, would look like a pretty traditional style workout. Now, for every person, it's kind of individualized to specifically what they need or what they can and can't do, depending on maybe limitations in their body, their rotation, their ankles, those type of things. But we really try to make sure that they have those basic pieces where they can get into those pushing, pulling, squatting, lunging, hinging type motions, which sometimes can sound a little bit scary. To people when they hear deadlifts and squats, they think big barbells and things like that. These could be body weight movements. These could be light dumbbell movements, but utilizing those to get the biggest bang for your buck out of your time spent is great. I think that sometimes there are positions and things that you can work on specifically for your golf game that you maybe really need to work on. But I mean, those are what we kind of call the ancillary things, the icing on the cake exercises that you can do if you've done the other things. You're not going to substitute, a golf swing with a rubber band for your split squats in any of our workouts.
So the common problem is you see people try to get too golf specific before they address the foundations. It's just the simplest way to put it.
I would say so. I mean, I think that, if we really pay attention to what's going to give us the long-term effect of, like if you're working on a small little exercise, maybe a rotation or position drill or something, that might help you a little bit in the short term. But is that going to let you play golf another 20 years down the road, healthy, be able to walk 18 holes? And I think for 90% of the people, a lot of the people that are here working with golf tech, they're wanting to play this for a longer period of time. Yes, they want to get better. Yes, they want to hit the ball further and everything. That will come with a lot of these basic fundamental exercises. And it's just like golf instruction. You can focus on all these little details, but if you're not focusing on the big important things, you're really kind of running in circles.
Totally. And let's talk about that other thing you mentioned of getting stronger, bulking up, not wanting to, I guess it's almost like not wanting to get strong, right? Like that is kind of one of the things that people say is they would reference Tiger, got too strong, like those kind of things is, it's definitely something that a lot of people believe for sure is being negative and something not to do.
Yeah, I think people see, some of the injuries that guys are having these days, and they equate, Tiger's back issues and probably Brooks Koepka's knee and Dustin Johnson's knee and those kind of things to, oh man, they're just training so much, they're training too hard. Well, first of all, we don't really know what Tiger was doing in his workouts. There are reports that he was doing Navy SEALs training and running in combat boots and things like that. So we can't really speak to what he did or didn't do. But also, I think injury-wise, we also have to look at how much these guys are playing now too, as opposed to what are they doing in their workouts. Now, I don't necessarily have a lot of people doing a lot of heavy, super heavy deadlifts and back squats and things like that. I'm not opposed to it, but if I have a guy that's 50 years old coming into my gym, I know that his goal isn't to back squat his weight. His goal is to be able to play better golf and to feel good in the morning. So, but we're still going to work on some squatting. That might be dumbbell squats and things like that. But yeah, it's, what do these guys do? Is it the strength training that's hurting them? I am a huge believer that it's not. I think that these guys have some of the best medical teams around them, fitness professionals around them. And so they're approaching this very smart. Other sports have the guys that have injuries. We don't blame it on their strength training, right?
I think it's an interesting point you made in there as well, too, Jeff, of having people go super heavy, but it's still really relative, right? So, you're probably going heavy enough to where you're trying to have some kind of strain. So just equated it back to some of my experiences in the gym, where if somebody's going through whatever kind of exercise they are, but they're still able to hold some sort of conversation or be playing on their phone at the same time, and it's probably, at least in my outlook, probably not the best use of their time. So heavy's, certainly relative in that regard, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that sometimes people, they look at using the lighter weights as they want to build their endurance, and, golf's a long game, and, I'm going to be playing for 5 hours. So I want to build my endurance. But to me, I think that first of all, golf is a power game, as you can attest to, Brad. The stronger you are, the further you're going to hit it. And I know you guys even have some stats to back that up that hopefully we can dig into. But, if you're not pushing yourself, I think that people underestimate what they can do too. I think that once we get to a certain age, we start to listen to some of the voices saying, well, you're 40 years old, you're 50 years old, you really shouldn't be lifting weights and pushing yourself that hard. What's the point? But strength training from a physical therapy side is one of the best things you can do to protect yourself long-term from, even things as you get older, from like falls and bone density and just keeping your muscles and your joints strong. So if you're not doing those kind of things where you're actually creating some strain and trying to build some muscle or build some strength, you're really doing just your body a disservice, as opposed to even your outside of the golf spectrum. But when you get in there, you put a little extra weight on the bar, you realize that, oh my gosh, I didn't die. I can do this. Maybe a little sore. But then what I see from clients is these guys that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s that have never really done maybe some lower body strength training, which a lot of guys hate to do. They start to see themselves or feel themselves really more balanced over the ball, much more confident over the ball, a lot more power. And they start to see improvements in their distance without even working on their swing speed yet. They're just getting a better base and better fundamental strength under them.
And I think from the endurance side of things too, like you said, it's a power sport, really. I mean, you're doing it over the course of several hours, but how much of that time is really spent actively exerting yourself? And really, I'm sure a lot of the individuals and clients that you work with, they're probably getting a much better endurance or cardiovascular workout just through the weightlifting, I bet, than how many of them may be doing it from on an elliptical or jogging or whatever the case is, getting an actual higher heart rate. So you can effectively check two boxes, both from the strength training side of things and also building that cardiovascular system, whether how much you need that or not. In a round of golf anymore, you can debate, but I think you can really make the best use of your time that way.
Totally. Totally. When you do a solid workout using your legs, kind of do a good total body workout that's balanced and well designed, and you're putting a little effort and strain into it, you definitely feel your heart rate go up. You definitely kind of get a little short of breath. And to me, that's how you know that you're actually putting in some real work that's going to benefit you in the long run.
Brad, for you, with long drive, what has been the biggest impact in your strength training that has helped you see results as far as distance with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just always trying just to get stronger and stronger, regardless of where you are. It's kind of like, does anybody ever come in and say they hit it far enough, regardless of what level you're in? The answer is going to be no. It's the same idea on the long drive side when it comes to strength training. There's no such thing as strong enough. That's kind of one of the fun parts, I think, when it comes to strength training is regardless of how good either one lift is, there's always either more weight to add or a weak side that you do have. So as I've really tried to focus on some of the lifts in the areas physically that I've been weaker on, that's just helped to not only make me able to hit more balls longer. So there is just maybe not injury prevention, but maybe an endurance aspect where I just don't feel the fatigue and can handle that. But then also just bringing up those weaker body parts for me to help me get a little bit stronger and get a little bit faster. So really where I am now, I'm certainly not one of the fastest guys out there by any means, but I'm nearly 10 miles an hour faster now than whenever I first got into this, when I was 20 years old. So being able to even where I am for speed, being able to add that much speed over the course of the years just through training. Can't really say I've changed my swing a ton over the years.
Brad, I'm curious to ask, are there certain things that you do to work on your speed, or is it more the strength training stuff? Because I often see, again, kind of the Instagram world of people throwing a bunch of medicine balls and doing a bunch of box jumps and things like that, even speed ladders and those type of things. Do you implement anything speed related, or do you feel like the strength is the biggest component into your training?
The biggest bulk of my training has always been strength related. Just even when I first got into lifting, it just started really with a more bodybuilding style for just real ignorance more than anything. That was just a great place to start to build some of that foundational strength. And then I've always just enjoyed going really heavy, almost more of a powerlifting style. So doing really low 2-3 reps for 10, 12 sets of really heavy bench, dead, squats, etc. And then I always still do add some of those additional lifts, like the icing on top at the end, where be it some med ball throws or some different box jumps, there's some different things in there to work on some speed. But the majority of my training is and always has been strength oriented, just really again low rep, high sets.
And you said, so a lot of what you're trying to do is tackle your weaknesses then with that. Is that right?
Yeah, as I said, you can, regardless of how fast you are, how strong you are at any level, you're always just going to have an area where you can get better. So for me in particular, I've always had really good squatting strength, especially from a more traditional hip width stance. Anything with a wider stance, more of a sumo stance, has always been a weak point for me. So more of from just tailoring to my own areas that I'm strong at, I've stayed away from them. I was never good at them, so I didn't do them and continue to not be good at them. So in recent years, I've tried to have more of a focus on those areas, doing more sumo stance, more of a wider stance for my deadlifts for my squats. And that has helped to get those areas stronger, obviously. It would just contribute a lot of the speed, I think, that I have gained just in the last couple of years. Is probably a big part of that as well.
What about it? So you've got the strength, you have the mobility side as well when you talk about weaknesses, right? Is that a factor that you look at as well as far as some mobility issues or any deficiencies like that, or are you mainly focused on strength then?
No, almost entirely strength. I think that's one of the, to speak to myself, I guess, to start with. I think along the lines of what Jeff had mentioned earlier, if you're doing your strength training through a full range of motion, you're going to be able to add the strength. If you do add some size, you'll be able to do that and maintain all of your mobility, if not even probably add some just through doing that. Jeff can probably shed a little bit of light on that front. But I think a lot of people's, if they do have any kind of mobility issues, some of that can certainly be strength related, I think, where there's just a safety mechanism in your body won't let you go through that range of motion. But as far as my personal routine, it's very, very limited on the stretching side. As far as static stretching, I'll do some dynamic stretching on the front end and maybe the back end for some cool down. But as far as holding a toe touch for 60 seconds or anything along those lines, or static stretching, can't really say that I do any of that, or really the last time I did any of that was. And if you were to look at any of my general mobility from any of the different fitness screens that you may have out there on the mobility side of things, typically pass all of those pretty easily. And I think that's also just a misconception that a lot of probably golfers have, is where they feel like they don't have the mobility to make a golf swing. And there's part of the reason for that, though, could be maybe a strength part, but I think a lot of that is just the misconception of how they're trying to swing the club. They're trying to, say, for instance, like their lower body. There was a popular instruction for a number of years where you're trying to resist your hip turn, like not turn your hips at all. And if that is your goal, you can be very immobile. It's hard to make a 90-degree shoulder turn if your hips don't turn. Where I think in recent years, and certainly at Golf Tech, using the motion measurement to teach people, no, it's okay to turn your hips. You see that out of the best players on tour and the longest hitters on tour and the longest hitters in long drive. They have lots of hip turn. That's what allows you to make a big shoulder turn. So I don't do any static stretching. And I think in general, along the lines of what Jeff said also, I think people can typically do more than they give themselves credit for, be that even just on the mobility side, in my experience from teaching golf.
I want to hear Jeff's thoughts on that, and want to hear that, and then dive into some of what we can do at home. We'll go through Jeff's daily ritual after you kind of tackle that question, just so folks hang around, because we've saved the best for last year with Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree in many respects with what Brad said. The thing that I see a lot with golfers, that are coming to me, Brad, how old are you?
33, I think.
Okay,
just turned 33.
So a lot of the guys that I'm seeing, by the time they come to me, they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s. I've even got some guys in their 70s, not talking about the younger players that I'm working with. So these are guys that, maybe they've been sitting at a desk for years. They haven't had the background of training that Brad has. So that's where I think the mobility then becomes more of an issue, because they don't have the movement patterns that Brad has built up over the years and has been doing these things. And really, that's kind of the message that we're trying to get out to some of the younger population. And by younger population, I mean guys like Brad's age. That I was just talking to a guy today that was 33. He's got a kid, he's working a corporate job, and he has found himself traveling a lot, sitting at a desk. So he's not doing a lot of these things. So finding small ways to just work on some of these different pieces. I do find that a lot of guys have issues with their ankles, not being able to get down into a full squat because of ankles. Their hips obviously are restricting them from making a good golf swing, but also just some daily movement type things as far as functional limitations. And then the trunk, the shoulders, kind of the rotation. Those are kind of the main sticky areas that I find with a lot of the guys that I see. So those are things that we have to tackle and we have to work on. Are they going to get back to the position where they're moving like Brad? That's, not in most cases, but what we want to do is just give them incremental improvements, but then also figure out how can we build, and how can we keep doing those other basic things too, the bigger movements too. So maybe we have to adapt a squatting exercise where they can't get all the way down because their ankles are a little jacked up. So we got to raise their heels up a little, so they can get down. They still get the benefit of the squat for the hips and the quads and those kind of things. But, there's just minor little adjustments. I'm like Brad, I don't do a ton of static stretching with many of my guys. I do a lot of the dynamic movement kind of things. You'll see in our little daily ritual that we do, it's really just some joint circles and just getting the joints moving. But when we do need to make a change, if there is something that somebody struggles with, I don't like to just to stretch. I don't have just a regular stretching routine the guys should just be doing, because I think, again, we don't want to waste their time. If there's an issue and we do feel like they need a long static stretch, there's certain ways that we need to do that, where we hold it for a longer period of time, because sometimes the brain is just saying, it's scared. It doesn't want to move in that direction because it thinks you're going to hurt yourself. So sometimes the static stretch is a way to kind of get over that, but then you have to kind of work on a strengthening piece with that too. So you're teaching the body how to use that new range of motion. And, to speak to the point of strength versus flexibility, a lot of guys come in saying, "Oh, I need to work on my flexibility of my turn," when actually what they really need to work on is kind of more the active piece of them being able to do it. So the strength of that motion, I can pull them. If you can see me on the screen, I can pull them into a 90-degree turn. But when they try to do it themselves, it's like a 30-degree turn. So them being able to actively do that is where the big difference comes in. And that's where we try to create and teach them the difference between just stretching to stretch versus stretching with a purpose, or actively creating some of that movement with a purpose.
Awesome. Well, let's dive in. What's the daily ritual here, and hopefully we can follow along at home.
All right, so
wherever folks are at.
So every morning, this is kind of my routine, and this is what we teach to all of our guys, is really just, almost going from head to toe. It'll be kind of hard because I don't have the full range of motion here in my space, but really just doing, we've all heard of shoulder circles, doing the old arm circle kind of thing. Well, it's kind of it's that on steroids a little bit. So I want you to think of taking every joint. So we normally would do the neck. We'll do a full shoulder circle. We'll do the shoulder blades. We'll do kind of a little rotation. And then the hard one I'm not going to be able to really show you is the hips and the ankles. I think we might even have a video on our YouTube page that maybe I can send you guys and link up to. But the idea is that most of us don't move our body nearly enough. And so when your body gets into a position that it's not used to, or your body experiences a stress or a strain that it's not used to, that's when you get hurt. So the idea here is keep the joint as pliable as possible. The more you move it, the more it's going to be used to stress and strain, and the less likely you're going to be to hurt. Plus, many times when you're experiencing pain in your body somewhere, your back or whatever, it's because something's not moving right. So this will hopefully help get you moving right. So I want everybody just sit up nice and tall. We're just going to go with the neck first. So all you're going to do, I want you to keep your teeth together. You're going to tip your chin down towards your chest, and then make as big of a circle around to one side, 360 degrees all the way around. You might hear some cracking and popping and crunching. And I want you to do that 3 to 5 times, nice and slow. It should take about 5 to 10 seconds to go one time around. And all that's doing is just getting all those little joints in the neck moving. This is a great one to do when you wake up. Just kind of get the body a little bit more loose. So what we would do is on all of these different things, we would go 3 to 5 times in each direction. Now on the neck one, especially if you're going to one side and you start to feel like a pinching on that side, I want you to just kind of work your way around it. Don't work your way through it. Pinching is bad, stretching is good. So then we would normally move on to the next one, which would be, we'll go with the shoulder. Let's see if I can scoot back here a little bit. All right. So you would take your arm with your palm facing towards your head. You're going to raise up as high as you can go. When you get to the top, once you're all the way fully stretched there, now turn your hand away from you. So turn your hand out to the other side, and then you're going to try to take the arm straight back behind you as far as you can, trying to keep your shoulders square the whole time. There you go. and then you're going to come down with the hand at your side, and then you're going to reverse it. So when you get kind of a terrible angle here.
It's great.
When you get here, I want your hand kind of inverted. So when you go backwards, you're going to go straight back this way, and then you're going to let it roll around and come all the way up. Sorry, I'm missing my mic there a little bit.
No, we can hear you just fine. The good news for Brad is he has all the space in the world behind him, as you can see from his background so there. He's got the whole room back there, so you don't have to worry about him.
All right, and then I'm going to give you 2 more here for the upper body, and then we'll find a resource that we can send everybody to. The next one is the shoulder blade. So I'll go here. Keep the arm straight at your side. And then I want you to just do a big shrug and then go all the way around. Big circle, all the way down, all the way forward. And on that one, the key is to try to not like tip your ear towards your shoulder. Try to keep your hand fairly stable at the bottom. You should feel a lot of different muscles, almost even cramping sometimes, because I want you to really try to go really hard here, where you're really squeezing the muscles, trying to create as much motion as you can. And then, you just switch directions. So 3 to 5 in each direction there. And
quick question.
Yeah.
Is it good if there's been pain and all? If like all of these feel like there's a little bit of hurt, is that a good thing?
So that it tells me that just by doing these, I guarantee if you did these for a week, that you would start to see that pain disappear a little bit. So especially for people that kind of get that discomfort or tightness up in their upper shoulders and in their neck and stuff, these little motions right here, just moving your neck every day, moving your shoulder blade every day, makes a huge, huge difference. So anybody that's sitting at a computer like you are often, Cordy, I know, we get into this posture of like rounding forward. And so this is just an easy way that you can do things throughout the day. It's perfect right now because we've all got a little extra time on our hands to just kind of get this stuff throughout the day. Because if you think about it, even if you're going to work out and you're doing some great things in your workout, usually that's, 2-3 hours a week as opposed to doing this on a regular basis. And then one last one that I like to do with the golfers, obviously, is just you can put your hands across your chest and this is perfect with you sitting. You can also do this standing, but just try to rotate as far as you can, pulling from whichever shoulder's going backwards. I want you to try to feel the shoulder blade muscles kind of pulling you backwards. So you're rotating and creating that rotation with the muscles in your shoulder blade and in your back. And then you're going to go the other way and do the same thing. And I like that feeling because that's a feeling that a lot of people don't experience in their backswing, but they could use that to help them even facilitate a little extra turn in their backswing if they use the shoulder on their trail side and feel themselves pulling into that backswing. I love that feeling and that visual and people being able to connect to that. Then we would also go on and do some stuff for the hips and the ankles and get on the floor and do a couple other things. But really just having a little bit of a daily routine of movement, not necessarily long, big stretches, just movement is a huge, huge game changer.
I love it. I mean, we all got to take breaks throughout our day. Nobody's working 8 hours straight, sitting at a computer. So instead of doing whatever you do during your break, mix it up and do something that's actually going to help you feel better. I think that's a great call to action. It's one that I need because I haven't been doing this. I haven't been doing much of anything in the past 4 weeks here. So this is for me. I'm the perfect audience for this, and I'm going to do this and I'll report back on progress.
Perfect.
And we'll make sure to link up that video. We'll throw it in the comments down below to something for folks. So this is awesome, Jeff. Thank you so much.
You got it, man. My pleasure.
Where can people check out the podcast, other videos, kind of stuff that you're working on?
Sure. Easiest place to go is just 18strong.com. We're putting together some resources for the Golf Tech crew. So if you go to 18strong.com/golftech, we've got Ryan putting some things together in the background to give you guys some free resources, just some of our stuff. But you can find everything on our main website. The podcast is there. Our YouTube channel, we've got a bunch of videos over there just on some basic instruction on a lot of the things we talked about today, and then many, many other things. So you can pretty much find anything, 18strong.com or 18strong on any of the social media platforms.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for hanging out. Brad, thanks for coming on as well today. And we will see everybody. We'll be back next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 2 Eastern. We'll see y'all then. Adios.